Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
doctor.
So we are now we're looking at specific excerpts, okay? And I'm assuming you each have chosen an excerpt for yourself. And based on the choice, you are going to kind of like give us a sense of what you think the theme of this excerpt, not this novel, but just this excerpt first, and then we identify it as a theme of the novel. So who wants to go first?
I go first,
Can I
Dr.
go first?
Lizzie?
Oh,
Okay, who wants to go first? Doesn't matter, because even if it's the same excerpt, it's all right. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Who's that? Shahira. Yeah, go ahead. Which one is yours?
The second one that you uploaded, chapter 18, page 99.
From chapter 18. Okay, cool. Yes.
So this is
Go ahead.
of Mr. Collins conversing with Mr. Darcy. And the theme that I think is in this page is prideful, which is Mr. Collins is, sorry, not prideful, proud. So Mr. Collins is proud of his duties as a clergyman, and he's talking to Mr. Darcy with I want to say like no shame, but more, he's just talking of his job, and he's very proud of his job, and yeah, I guess basically that's it. He's just very proud and doesn't really care what other people thinks.
Right. That's the bit that you got, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And based on that, are you then able to identify a theme, so to speak, of this novel?
Prideful.
Prideful. That sense of
Pride.
I didn't upload this, did I? Oh, I didn't upload it. It's not here. Okay. Can I get to? Oh yeah, I can. What am I doing? All right, cool. 18, huh? 18. Yay. Or can't make it big. All right. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else chose this excerpt?
No, nope.
Okay. Let me draw your attention to the bit that drew my attention to this. The second paragraph is the bit that caught my attention about Elizabeth. Can somebody read that for me? And then we will identify the said or the spoken and the unspoken. Can somebody read? To Elizabeth it appeared.
All right, I'll read it. To Elizabeth, it appeared that had her family made an agreement to expose themselves as much as they could during the evening, it would have been impossible for them to play their parts with more spirit or finer success.
Okay, let's just unpack that. Let's just analyze that. What exactly is the narrator telling us about Elizabeth and her opinion of her family? Can somebody just try to help me unpack that? What is she in fact thinking when she thinks of her family?
I think she's a bit embarrassed.
By what?
Her family's action in the ball.
Yeah.
Right. So she is in fact agreeing with Miss Bennet's opinion of her family, and even to an extent Mr. Darcy's opinion of her family. She feels like her family could tone it down a little bit.
Yes.
The word expose themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Expose in what way? The spoken word is expose. What is the unsaid? What is the unspoken? What is she in fact trying to say? What is the narrator trying to say about Elizabeth's opinion of her family? Expose in what way?
The stories that they tell at the ball.
Right. What else?
Or maybe the common etiquette, like you're supposed to behave in a ball. I mean,
Right. You know, imagine you go to a family function, you know, what's the first thing mom or dad will tell you? Usually it's mom lah. What's the first thing mom will tell you before you get to the place? And then you're going to go and meet some relatives. It could be your grandmother or grand aunt or aunties and uncles. And, you know, what's the first thing mom and dad will say?
behave yourself.
Exactly, right? Behave yourself, mind your manners, you know, behave, don't be doing things that would embarrass the family, right? So that's the bit about exposing themselves. So they were not behaving themselves in terms of their manners. Maybe they were a bit loud. Maybe they were showing themselves in a way that is not proper. What you do in private and what you do in public should be different. You know, maybe in private you can be loud, you can be boisterous, you know, you can kind of like say and do whatever you feel like. But when you're in public, there's certain kind of etiquette that comes with being in society. Whereas her family doesn't seem to get that, right? And that is the bit that embarrasses her somewhat. And you can tell that because the way she expresses it, the way the narrator, not she, to Elizabeth, it appeared that had her family made an agreement to expose themselves, it would have been impossible, meaning they couldn't have exposed themselves any more than they have already done. That's how badly they behaved. So she, you know, it's a very long-winded way of saying, oh my God, can these people do anything more to embarrass themselves than they have already done, right? So what's the unsaid in terms of, you know, talking about pride and talking about, you know, the sense of status quo and societal expectation? We talked about this in our book club, how the way Darcy treats the people and Longbourn and people that he comes to meet is very much based on his societal expectations. What is expected of him in society? What is expected of him by his family, by his aunt? So we do things based on what is expected of us. You know, so when you go and visit your aunts or your grandparents or you know, your relatives, you know, during any kind of family gatherings, you behave according to what is expected of you. Correct?
Yes.
So you might be bored, you might be like, oh God, I'm just too tired, I can't bother. But you don't show all that to them. You behave accordingly, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in this context, it's almost like the family doesn't seem to get that. They don't seem to get that, look, you don't behave this way. Why is that? Why do you think her family is like that?
They don't practice this at home as well?
Perhaps. Right? This is where you start to probe. If this was a theme that you were interested in, you will start to probe and you will read the novel looking for more examples, more clues to help you define the theme of this point, this issue for yourself. That's how you identify a theme. You look at this excerpt. In my case, I looked at this excerpt and I saw something in what the narrator is telling us, the reader, about Elizabeth and her opinion of her family. Forget about Darcy's opinion of her family, right? Or the Miss Bingley's sisters' opinion of her family. She herself has a very strong opinion about her family, especially in public. She loves her family, right? But she acknowledges to herself, as we see here, the narrator observes this in Elizabeth. Obviously, the narrator is telling us something that's going through in her mind, in her heart. That's why I say the narrator is, even though it's third person narration, the narrator seems more biased towards Elizabeth because we hear and understand a little bit more about Elizabeth than any of the other characters. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that's one example. Okay, somebody else choose another excerpt.
I'm gonna go with excerpt from chapter 19.
Okay, cool. This one?
This is a conversation where Mr. Collins saying that my reason for marrying are first that I think it's the right thing for every clergyman in easy circumstances like myself to set the example of matrimony in his parish. Secondly, that I am convinced it will add very greatly to my happiness. And thirdly, which perhaps I ought to have mentioned earlier, that it is the particular advice and recommendation of the very noble lady who I have the honor of calling patroness. So basically, he's giving reasons that he want to get married, but all these reasons coming from the societal expectation of him and not what he really wants.
Good.
So what I get unspoken from this is that maybe during this particular era, for them, marriage is more towards a tool for socio-economic elevation.
Good. Spot on. Spot on. So if you were going to develop a theme based on this excerpt that you will then probe the rest of the novel for, what would it be? Based on what you've just said.
That it is a tool for socio-economic elevation, probably.
Yeah. So is marriage a kind of a means towards improving your societal economic stature? You know, is this what marriage is? What is the value of marriage? So that's what you will do. If that's a theme that you are interested in, that's what you will do. Based on this excerpt, you then probe the rest of the novel, go through the rest of the novel, find more clues to support that same idea. That means you will read the entire novel and look only at instances where the discussion of marriage comes into it. It can be marriage between Lydia and Wickham. It could be marriage between Miss Lucas and what's this guy's name, Mr. Collins. You know, so it could be any of the couples, or it could be general discussion about marriage that Elizabeth might be having with Miss Lucas or with anyone. So you will probe, you will explore the entire novel, looking for more such clues to help you identify the theme and discuss this novel from that point of view. That's how you conduct it thematically. This reading of this book thematically.
Okay.
You follow?
Yes, Doctor.
Is everyone following?
Yes, Doctor. Yes, Doctor.
Okay.
Who else? Who's next?
Doctor, perhaps I'll go next because the text I choose is the same as Ranjini.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
When I read this text, mostly I focus on Mr. Collins. He is very confident and he's prideful as his duty as a clergyman. He takes pride in him having that status, and also his patroness, Lady Catherine. So for him, he thinks that his status is a decent working, he has a status as clergyman and having the background and the support. He is the best candidate, a suitor for anyone, meaning like if he proposed to someone, anyone will just take him because of his status.
Right.
Yeah, that sense of pride and his confidence.
Right.
Like living in his, not saying his bubble world, but in a sense, yeah.
So that is, very micro level of reading this text, this excerpt, sorry. So based on that micro reading, what can you kind of like deduce about the issue or the point of this narration?
Probably in his pride, So
you could compare it with what Mary says.
Yes, that is quite true. Yeah.
Right. So if for instance you are interested in looking at that issue, then throughout the novel, every time either examples of pride is being discussed, shown, being observed, you will then look at every excerpt, mine your data, and then based on that come out with your own your own analysis of what Pride and Prejudice really is about. Is it bad to have a sense of pride? You know, can your sense of pride be your downfall? Can it be something that is of value? Albeit Mr. Collin comes across very comical. Is he wrong to be proud of being a clergyman? Even though being a clergyman at that time is lower than being a gentleman. A gentleman like Darcy doesn't need to work. He is that wealthy because he has inheritance. A clergyman is somebody who has to work for a living. Whereas today, in 21st century society, if anyone is a son of a prince, a son of a king, you know, any prince, people look at him and laugh at him. It's like, who are you? You're living off your family's wealth. You're nobody. You need to work. You need to show that you are doing something with your life to have any value. Whereas back then, you kind of hold a higher stature when you're not working, when you're born of wealth, which is what Mr. Darcy is. Do you know what I mean? Because he's rich. Because he is rich, he gets to do that. Whereas Colin,
he has to work.
He has to work. So you know, from the 19th century perspective, it might be like, you know, he's just a clergyman. You know, he's just a clergyman. Whereas from the 21st century perspective, maybe from your respective cultural perspective, you have a different sense of somebody who works for a living. And that element of pride connected to his status in society, you may look at it differently. Do you understand? So that's how you would probe this theme further if you are interested. So just by looking at this one excerpt and then comparing it with you know, other excerpts with similar kind of echoes or similar echoes of issues, you can already develop a theme. But it has to be text-based.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay.
All right. Who's next?
Maybe me, Doctor.
Go ahead, Ali. Which excerpt?
The excerpt that is at chapter 5. Vanity and pride are different things, so the words are often used synonymously. A person may be proud without being vain. Pride relates more to our opinion of ourselves. Vanity to what we would have others think of us. Yes. Mary discussed and explained that vanity and pride are not the same things, but they are used interchangeable. She instead differentiates that vanity as what we want others to think about us, while pride means our opinions of ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see what you have done is you've just retold us this part of the story, right? You've only repeated or summarized this part of the story, but based on that, what can you so back to the back to what Mesheray talked about. What you have said is basically the spoken, the thing that is identifiable in the text. You've given us the spoken. What about the unspoken? What about what is hinted at? What is it that you can say about that?
The unspoken things, if we take, for example, anyone from our human nature, when we talk about someone else, when he go for some relatives, as we said before, the one that he behave is different from the others' behaviors, or just like not the way that he behave, as we say that someone behave at the way that he want to behave, not like just like the others that behave at the same way. Yeah.
So you do what you want to do, not because what is expected of you.
Yes.
Okay, but the point of vanity and pride, you know, what I want you to do is when you read this excerpt and say, okay, there's something here that I find interesting, I need to probe more, I want you to learn to the skill of identifying what is also not mentioned, not just what is mentioned.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
doctor. Yes, doctor.
So for instance, when I said just now, when I looked at this excerpt, I said just now, how does Mary reach this definition? It says here, by all that I have read. So what is not mentioned is what has she experienced firsthand? We're not sure. We're not told. So based on that, I can make a kind of reach a theme that, do you get to know someone, or do you understand something? Example, pride, example, love, example, whatever expressions of humanity. Do you understand it based on what you read in a book, or do you understand it based on what you experience for yourself? So that's a theme that you can probe. That's the unspoken. For me, in the first part, this part here, that's the unspoken. So for you, when you quoted that line just now, what I want you to do is, now you've told us what is stated, what is spoken. I want you to also be able to identify you read between the lines. You infer what is not stated, what is not mentioned. That's something you need to learn to do. That's an important skill.
Yes, doctor. I see.
Okay. So for instance, the next paragraph, when it says, Miss Lucas says this, the young Lucas, meaning, Miss Lucas's brother, he says this: if I were as rich as Mr. Darcy, I should not care how proud I was. I would keep a pack of foxhounds and drink a bottle of wine every day. So this is the ambition of the young boy, to be rich, because being rich means I don't care what I do. Doesn't matter. Nobody can say anything. So the rich gets away with a lot more. So the unspoken is, what could be the unspoken here? What can wealth get you?
That when someone referred to the vanity in front of the others, that the way that he behaved in is different from the others. That mean that he is proud of himself or herself. Yeah.
No, but read this bit. When I read you this quote by Lucas, by the young boy, what does it say about wealth? What does it say about being rich in this society? What can you do when you are rich in this society?
Yeah, just to be different from the others and get what he want to get, to represent himself as a rich one, and buy the things that the others cannot buy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that again, Ali, that is the spoken. That is the thing that you can see. But what is the thing that you are not told? One of the things that you are not told includes, when you are rich, you can do what you want without bothering about other people's opinion. So earlier I showed you the excerpt about Elizabeth and how she felt embarrassed, right, by her family's exposure of themselves, right? So because they are not rich, that's why they need to be more mindful. But if they were rich, they can do whatever they want and expose themselves, and it doesn't really matter. Do you understand?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. So I need you to kind of make the link. So when you are able to make the link, then you can see this point by young Lucas. If I were as rich as Mr. Darcy, I should not care how proud I was. Whereas Elizabeth's family, they have to care. They have to care in the way they expose themselves. Why? Because they're not that wealthy.
Yes.
So it's like a double standard. That's a theme. You know, the double standard of society because of wealth. That when you are rich, you get away with so much more. When you're not rich, a lot more is expected of you in terms of the way you conduct yourself. Do you understand?
Yes, doctor. I
Are
see.
you all following me?
Yes, doctor. I see.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. So, okay, good. Next, who else? Has everybody done? Shahira, Ranjini, Jennifer, Ali, Huda? I think Huda said she had to leave for a bit. Huda, are you there? Okay, never mind. I will get to her. All right. So, do you follow what I'm trying to kind
I will
of
check, doctor.
Sorry?
I will check whether if it is here or not.
Yeah. But are you all following me so far?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. All right. Have you got a text that you have chosen to compare Pride and Prejudice with? Or have you chosen a text that you have found a similar theme to compare with?
Yes, doctor.
Yes,
Okay.
doctor.
Okay. Do you have anything to show in terms of a presentation, or do you want to just talk about it?
I think for me, I will just talk about it for now.
Okay, Ken, give me the text, and I will try to find it online so we can at least have something to look at. What's the text?
Oh, doctor, it has to be based on a novel, is it?
No.
Like,
Okay,
okay,
what's
because it is in Mandarin, so
sure, no problem. What's that? Not that I read Mandarin, but you know, I'm gonna pretend. What's it called?
okay, I'll type it out.
It's in Mandarin, as in it doesn't even have an English.
Yes, it has an English title.
Yeah, go on then. What is it?
Of Ming.
Am I sharing the screen right now?
No.
Oh my god. I am so clever. All this time I thought I was sharing and happily showing you this screen and that screen, and oh my goodness gracious. Sincerely apologize for this, guys. Okay. All right. Okay. So what's it called? Jen?
Sorry, the story of Ming Lan. I put it on the meeting chat. So.
Story of?
Yeah, that one. The Chinese television series.
This one? This one?
Yes.
Okay. Just now I was doing this. I was like, you know, here, and I was like showing this, and I was pointing at different excerpts, thinking that you all saw what I saw. All right. I'm like,
okay.
oh my god.
It's okay, doctor. It's okay.
I know. You all should tell me, doctor, we can't see what you're seeing. Like, I forgot because I shared it just now, and then when I start recording, I unshared it. So, okay. All right. So this one, huh?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could kind of you want us to look at? Does the story have a happy ending? Okay, that would be
it have a happy ending.
okay, cool. Because I can't watch a story that doesn't have a happy ending. Life is just too full of unhappy things. So
Probably.
So how about my excerpt?
Okay.
Huda, are you back?
Okay.
Yes, doctor. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Yes. Which one did you chose 32? Okay, we'll come back to the story of Minglan, Jennifer.
Okay.
Okay. Huda, tell us what you wanted to what you saw in this excerpt.
I saw that he is defending himself and give an excuse for Bingley going away when Lizzie asked him.
This is chapter 32.
Yes.
Let me look for it. Okay. Okay. In this excerpt that you chose, what was it in this page that you wanted to say something about? In this page.
All right.
You mean the top of the page? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, he is giving an excuse. he has many connection, he has many relationship, a new relationship, as if he is giving an excuse that he give him this advice to be separated from Jen.
Okay. How would that help you identify the theme? Because what I'm trying to get you all to understand is when you are identifying the theme, it starts with either the characters or the plot or an aspect of the story, and based on that, you read the unspoken. Okay, you refer to the unspoken. Where is it? You refer to the unspoken, and in being able to read the unspoken, okay, you get to the theme of the novel. Okay, so it's not enough to refer to the novel and say, okay, in this passage, this is what Darcy is saying. Darcy is referring to that, you know, Bingley is not keen on staying at Netherfield, and Netherfield, and most probably he's going to go back. That's it. But that's just repeating the plot. That's just telling me what is obvious, the spoken, right?
Yes.
Based on the spoken, what is the issue then? What is the issue that helps you identify the theme of the novel? Because
I have to read it thoroughly, more thoroughly.
Yeah, you see, the bit that I saw in this passage is back to what Colin was saying about marriage, and there is a kind of an addition to why we marry or how we choose our spouse, and this is what Darcy tells Elizabeth. You know, it must be very agreeable to her then means Miss Lucas, to be settled within so easy a distance of her own family and friends. So this is how you choose a marriage partner, someone who doesn't live very far. There's usually one of the ways to decide, you know, like in Malaysian context, for instance, would be like, okay, for Eid, you know, if you marry somebody very far for Eid, you know, you might not be able to go home for Eid all the time, because sometimes you might have to go to your, not sometimes, every other year you have to go to your mother-in-law's home. And so you can't meet up with your family members during Eid. I don't know whether it's the same for the others, but that's one of the things that, you know, in my generation, that's the kind of conversation people have. Like, for instance, my sister, my elder sister is married to my brother-in-law, who is from Sabah. For those of you who are on, you know, for Huda and Ali, Sabah is in in Borneo. It's in another part of the country. So they have to take the airplane to, you know, to get to their home, to my brother-in-law's home, and so it's like every other year, my sister will not be able to meet up with us for Eid, because she will be visiting her in-laws, my brother-in-law's home, right? So here in this particular excerpt, Darcy is almost suggesting that's another reason to choose a marriage, or rather, that's another criteria for marriage, which is, where does your spouse live? How far does the potential spouse live compared to your family? Because it's only 50 miles, so it's almost like 50 miles is about like from here to say you know, Rawang, you know, just about an hour away, you know, but back then it has to be on horse, on a carriage, you know, so half a day's journey.
Long.
So Elizabeth is saying, I should never have considered the distance as one of the advantages of marriage. I should never have said Mrs. Collins was settled near her family. Right? So why do you choose a marital? How do you make choices for your marital spouse? The distance. This is how Darcy thinks. Whereas in Elizabeth's mind, you know, that's not an issue. Even if that person stays very far, if I wanted to marry the person, I will marry the person. Okay, and for her, 50 miles is not near. So Darcy says, it is proof of your own attachment to your hometown. You're very attached here. That's why you say that half a day's distance is not near. It's actually very far. Okay?
Yes.
Because for Darcy, 50 miles is not very far. Plus, if you can afford to travel, 50 miles, you can, if you're homesick, you can go and visit your family. So it's almost like this is in comparison to where is the Collins? Which one is it? Is this the one that?
It's not this one.
Sorry.
This is not my excerpt. I don't know where is it.
Yeah, no. So this is in comparison to chapter 19, when Mr. Collins describes his idea of getting married, or his idea of marriage. You know, so
Yes.
so one of if you wanted to pursue this idea further, and you wanted to see how does this novel describe marriage. It's not about a boy and a girl, or a man and a woman falling in love, getting married because they want to be together. It's not about that. It's more about, for, like Ranjini said earlier, for economic expansion, for some kind of security, both for the men and the woman, in terms of life security, economic expansion, economic security, emotional kind of emotional security. So based on that excerpt, the one that Huda, the one that you identified, what I'm suggesting is, if you probe that, I'm looking for it now. If you probe that idea of why do people get married? Why do people get married? Or how do you choose your marital partners? One of the reasons that is given in the novel is you choose somebody who lives nearby you, because that's how it used to be done, so that you don't need to, you don't need to leave your family home. You don't need to be away from. Imagine you are living in a society where there is no internet, there's no telephone, and if you're sick, or if you're missing your family, you have to travel to see them. And if they live very far from you, like Ali and Huda are very far from their family right now, and imagine there is no telephones and no internet, you can't FaceTime them, you can't Skype with them, you can't Zoom with them, you can't do any of these things. You have to wait for the next trip home before you can hear their voice, or you can see them, or you can talk with them. Do you understand? Hello?
Okay.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm creating the context for you to help you realize how marriage was decided back then.
Okay.
And that's an aspect that a lot of us may take for granted. It's like, that's not how I choose my marriage partners. If I chose my marriage partner that way, I'll be in for it, because then there is no emotional connection, there's no attraction, all those things are important, because at a personal level, those things matters to us, right? But the way this novel presents marriage, it's very clinical, it's done in a very conscious manner.
Practical.
Okay.
Yes.
Very practical, absolutely, very practical. So if that was a theme that you wanted to probe, you can see it, look for more evidence such as that throughout the novel.
Yes.
That's what I'm suggesting.
All right.
Okay, so now we are done with that. We are now comparing Pride and Prejudice with other works. So Jennifer chose this 2018 TV series.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So now come back to the definition of comparative literature. Looking at texts from two different geographical location, two different time contexts, but that they share the same, there's something similar between the two. So
Yes.
in this week's class, we are looking at theme as a potential similarity. Okay, so Jen, talk to us a little bit about what is it about the story of Ming Lan that you found similar, comparable to Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen?
Okay, so in terms of the theme, the most obvious one was actually marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, because a little background story of historical Chinese. If you can probably look it at the Wikipedia, it's good enough. It's just literally you can't actually choose who you want to marry based on like romance or feelings. It was either choose by you, by the parents,
Right.
or it's based on your parents or your own social status. And
Right.
another thing that is interesting is because the protagonist, she is not the main wife's daughter. She's actually the concubine. So it makes more interesting that she, in the end, happy ending, she married to a guy that is higher status, like how Lizzie in the end sort of married to Mr. Darcy. But the thing that was the difference I found was Lizzie Elizabeth has a concept of like if marriage, it has to be some sort of romantic, a little bit of romance, and you know this person, you love this person, and then you marry. But in this story, it was kind of like a slow. It was kind of like she and the main character, the both of them, they know each other, but she didn't really develop any romance, but rather just a nice, friendly, mutual feeling. But their love blossomed after marriage.
So this part here, she
Yeah.
meets Gu Tengyi.
Yeah, this is the main, another character, like Mr. Darcy.
Can you all see what I'm seeing here on the screen?
Yes, Doctor. The Wikipedia page.
Yeah, Wikipedia page.
Thank you. Just checking. I'm like pointing at it. I'm like, yeah, we're all reading the same thing. Yeah, right. Okay. So if you compared Gu Tingyi's character, Gu Tingyi and Sheng Minglan's character, or their relationship, or the development of their relationship, which characters in Pride and Prejudice comes closest to their development of understanding each other?
Probably in terms of this, it would feel like more to Mr. Bingley and Jane.
Right.
If you want to see like the development of it, but
Right.
there's other factors that I chose to compare them between Elizabeth and Miss Darcy.
No, but this line though, Jennifer, she meets Gu Tingyi, who initially dislikes her, but after witnessing her wits and intelligence, decides to help her. They eventually fall in love.
Okay. This one I would like to debate actually, because how I see it was portrayed in the drama. This Gu Tingyi, he was married to another girl, and then that quality wasn't so good. So as Minglan, she advised him, so which makes him dislike her, but at the same time she disliked him as well.
Right. So it's in a sense the theme of mutual dislike between the couple at the beginning of the narrative.
Yeah,
and
because
how that
a lot
later is exactly the same as Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, because she had an own opinion on him, and he had his own opinion of her.
Now, if you focused on that, you can compare that with Darcy and Elizabeth. Meaning, you're not focusing on marriage, you're not focusing on why people get married, you're not focusing on all that. You're focusing on how relationship starts in both texts. The similarity between that, and then develop a theme using that idea. Do you understand?
Okay.
That in itself is sufficient, meaning, what makes someone attracted to somebody else? What makes the guy attracted to the girl? Is it beauty? With Bingley and Jane, what was it, everybody?
Beauty.
Beauty.
Yeah.
She didn't say a word, and he was already head over heels in love with her, right? And that is an archetype of a lot of stories where the guy falls in love for the girl, like Romeo and Juliet. Doesn't say a single word.
Okay.
All he has to do is just stand there and look pretty. right? Where else
Okay.
in this
Right.
context? Where else in this context, as it says here, initially they might both dislike each other, but what develops attraction in a couple? That's a
Okay.
theme that you can explore. You know, what's the
Develop.
source of attraction in a couple? In Elizabeth's and Darcy's relationship, and in this case, in Minglan's and Ting Yi's relationship. So that
Okay.
is a theme in itself, and that is comparable in itself, and that is sufficient for an analysis.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I will try.
Yeah. This is my suggestion, because based on that alone, I feel like okay, that's true, because sometimes some romantic relationship they might start with boy meets girl and girl hates boy's guts, or boy hates girl's attitude, or that
Yeah.
it starts with hate. It's not the love what's that
Flower kind.
yeah, you know what's, oh my god, the thing is just complete love looking for it, I'm looking for it. What's that phrase? Oh good lord, it's just not coming to me. First impression, no, what was that?
Love at first sight.
Love at first sight. You can tell it's not in my mind because I don't believe in such things, but
Yeah. Okay.
just saying, you know.
Okay.
because you know that that idea of gazing upon someone, gaze, it's a gaze, you gaze upon someone, and it's the external that captures your heart and your mind. It's just, to me, it's a bizarre idea.
Quite.
I don't know, I maybe I'm jaded, I don't know, you know, that comes with age,
Okay.
I guess. I don't know, but you guys out there, you know, it's there, love is there, so go forth and grab it if you've not grabbed it yet. So anyway, so you don't have to start hating somebody at the beginning, but that's also an archetype of storytelling.
Okay.
So in both in the novel and in this TV series, it seems as if that's the point of convergence between the two.
Yes.
Okay, so that's how you would explore it if I were, sorry, that's how I would explore it if I were you.
Okay.
Okay,
Interesting. Okay.
thank you. I tried to be.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, who's next?
I go next, Doctor.
Okay, Ken, what's your text, Ranjini?
So my text is Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay. What was it based on a book, or because
Based on
it is based on a book. Okay, Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. So it's comparable to a book, but are you choosing the book or the movie?
I'm choosing the movie.
Okay, cool. Yes.
All right.
Let's look at
the central theme that I notice is marriage as a tool for socioeconomic elevation.
Good.
But so I think both of this texts share the same central theme. Where another thing is that there's like a presence of a strong matriarch in both. In Pride and Prejudice, there's Lady Catherine who opposes the marriage because she don't agree Darcy marrying someone of a less how do you call that?
Status, in terms of status,
yes.
Someone below him.
In Prejudice Asians, we have Eleanor Young, Nick's mother, where she opposes the marriage for the same reasons as well. And then we also can see that in both stories, women are the one who driving the plot.
Okay.
And it goes against the grain where in Pride and Prejudice, we see Elizabeth as someone who's like against the stereotype of that era. She's not eager to get married. She's not willing to settle for someone less just because on the to fulfill the criteria of being married. In Crazy Rich Asians, we can see the thing where there's no specific Asian stereotypes. there's like no nerd people there. I mean, like it's not to say that there's no nerd people there at all, but it against the Asian stereotype of showing like like martial art or something like that.
Right.
Also, another thing that I really like about both is the motherhood, where in Pride and Prejudice we can see Mrs. Bennet, although she might have wrong intention, but it was for the good of a kid.
Right.
Her, which is basically the same with Prejudice Asians, where although Eleanor tries to, she doesn't agree with the marriage, but she's doing it because of the motherhood, where she want to protect her son because she has the experience of marrying against the wish, and then she struggled as well. So I kind of like the motherhood theme as well.
So if you were going to compare the theme of motherhood, it would be Eleanor and the way she tries to control Nick's relationship with Rachel. Compare that with which characters in Pride and Prejudice?
Mrs. Bennet.
No. No, because then it's not comparable. No, it wouldn't be Mrs. Bennet. Rather, who is controlling Darcy's engagement towards Elizabeth? It's not Mrs. Bennet.
His affection.
Lady Catherine, the mother.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then it's comparable. Then you can kind of look at how Lady Catherine handles the situation compared to how Eleanor handles the situation, albeit Lady Catherine is not the mother for Darcy, but like you say, it's a matriarch. She's still playing that same role. And they both behave from the same point of impulse. They are both driven by the same cause to protect their charge. In Eleanor's case is Nick. In Lady Catherine's case is Darcy. Then it's comparable if you look at the theme of motherhood plus something else. It could be not just motherhood, but motherhood could mean many things. It could encompass a lot of different issues. But in this case, it's more about where does motherhood end? Where does the role of the mother end? If the guy is already a grown man, do you still need to intervene? Can he not make his own mind? Are you sure that he will make a mistake if he did things according to what he wants for himself? So where do you draw the line of motherhood for a mom with their relationship with their sons? Do you understand? That's something you could explore. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. All right. Who's next?
Famous?
Yes?
I can go next.
Who's that? Shahira, yes. What's your text?
It's actually a web series. So I'm not so sure. It's called the Lizzie Bennet Diaries.
Okay.
So it's adapted from Pride and Prejudice.
You know what? I remember seeing this. I saw like 1 or 2 episodes, and then no, not this one. There was another one. This is okay. Is there a wiki? Yes, this one, huh?
Yep.
Okay. So this is more an adaptation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is it okay though?
Okay. The way you decide is back to the definition. What did we say in terms of the definition of comparative literature? If you can use that as a source, you will be able to kind of like say whether it's okay or not. Okay, so let's look at it. Are you all seeing this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Doctor.
So study of literature beyond the confines of one particular country. So we're looking at Pride and Prejudice set in England, and
America.
And this one is
America.
Oh, America. Okay, cool. Where does it say it's set in America? Context is America. I mean, do you get something about America in the story?
Yes, in one of the blocks, a character moved to New York.
Okay, but the story is the writer or the writing is by Americans or by British? It may move, the setting may move to other countries, but if it is also written by an English group of writers, then it's not comparative literature.
It's by an American. Hank Green is the brother of John Green.
John Green. Okay, cool. Where does it say? Written by Bernie Sue, Margaret Depp. Created by Hank Green. Okay, cool. All right. Okay. Because the definition of comparative literature is what will guide you whether the text that you choose is comparable or not. So in Shahira's case, okay, tell us about the story. Yes, tell us about these web series.
So it starts as Lizzie Bennet is a student living at home with the parents and her sisters. So instead of 5 siblings, there's only 3 in the web series.
Right.
And then she starts doing this vlog for her thesis, and then there's a mention, I think maybe it's next door. Bingley, okay, so Bingley and Darcy move next door. So like in the novel, Mrs. Bennet starts to plan to match make one of the daughters with the guys next door. And then Darcy is still prideful and having those prejudicial thoughts about the Bennet families. And then Wickham is a coach, and still the same story, telling Lizzie how Darcy basically cut him off from his from the money that was supposed to belong to him, but it's actually something else. And then I cannot remember what happened after that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's good. It's good so far. So as you're telling me this, one of the things that comes up, you see, unlike who chose this? Ranjini chose this?
Crazy Rich Asian.
Yeah. So unlike Ranjini's choice, Crazy Rich Asian, and Jennifer's choice, which basically are texts, a really distinctly different texts, set in different contexts about some different story. Yours is very much a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. So in order to identify the theme for this particular, in order to identify the comparison between Pride and Prejudice and the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, yours will not be thematic. Yours will look at from the theory of revisionism.
Revisionism.
This is another parameter.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is not thematic per se. Yes, you will identify the theme, but this is taking up, where is it? This one. This is, are you all seeing this definition?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So this is taking up to Tosi's definition of looking at knowledge and application of other disciplines in and for the study of literature. So your reading of it will incorporate revisionism as a theory. So what is revisionism? Revisionism, we talked about this in Malaysian literature and English, but in a nutshell, it's retelling a story from a new perspective. And when you retell it from a new perspective, certain reasons are taken into consideration, or certain criteria. Number one is you want to highlight characters that in the original version is marginalized, or you want to give a different kind of dimension to the characters from the original, and you want to give the characters a kind of a different dimension. For instance, in this context, you said that the central character is a student, a high school student, right? So the central character meets somebody also is a student. Yeah. So the context is high school, or the context has changed. So when the context changes, the issue may evolve differently compared to Pride and Prejudice set in the 19th century England.
So that's the different dimension, right?
You may look at it from that point of view. So you need to read up more on revisionism, revisionism as a literary theory. So your parameter, you are in fact using revisionism as a theory to study the text, Pride and Prejudice and the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. So that's how you choose to read these two texts. Okay, so it's slightly different from the thematic approach of Jennifer's reading and Ranjini's reading, but it's still applicable, it's still important, largely because yours is a revisioning of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. So you need to use the lens of revisionism to read these two texts and see how are they similar, how are they different, and if they are different, what can you say about the different, the new adaptation? What has the new adaptation added to the story that Jane Austen's original adaptation did not, Jane Austen's original novel did not have?
Okay.
So revisionism allows you to ask those kinds of critical stories, critical points. So for instance, and I'll give you an example, revisionism usually takes characters in history, historical characters, and place them in contemporary stories and gives them a different retelling. It could be from the Malaysian perspective, you could be Hang Tuah, the mythical characters. It could be, looking at certain historical figures, the 15th century, 16th century characters, and telling them from the 20th century, 21st century perspective. How would they be if they were living in our generation? That's an aspect of revisionism. If you're interested, you can, yeah.
I was just wondering, in terms of revisionism, like, I was wondering, is like the Greek mythology, like Medusa, she was portrayed as bad. So revisioning is she is portrayed as a person, not as a victim. She was a victim.
Not as bad.
Something like that.
No, Medusa, doctor.
No. That's a very good point, because that's the reading of Maleficent. That's also how you can read Maleficent's character through the lens of revisionism, where Maleficent in the original version of Sleeping Beauty is seen as an evil witch, but in the story Maleficent, you find out the backstory. How did she become the witch that she was? Was she always bad? Did something happen to her? So revisionism allows you to understand certain dimensions of the character that the original story chooses to remain silent about or unspoken in.
So this applies to Greek mythology as well?
It applies in any context.
Okay.
For instance, the current big Marvel, not Marvel, is it Marvel? The Joker. DC. So in the Batman series, Joker is a villain. Yes?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So in the Batman series, Joker comes across as the villain. But
Yes.
in the current movie adaptation,
2009. Yeah.
in 2019's movie adaptation, the Joker is the central character of the story.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is how revisioning allows you to pick up characters that were once marginalized or silenced or even seen as the villain, and giving them a central role in their own story. And then you start to find out more about them. So you can compare, for instance, you can compare the revisioned version with the original version, provided the original and the revision do not come in the same canon. If they are both from the English literary canon or the English, fiction or production canon, then you cannot compare that, because that's not comparative literature.
Okay.
So you cannot compare a work of history with a work of fiction placed within the same context. It has to come from different contexts.
The opposite.
Because it's crossing borders. You are looking at the study beyond the confines of one particular country. Because if the text and the movie or the TV series or whatever, it is within the same country, this is not comparative literature.
Oh.
It's just comparative analysis.
Okay.
For instance, if the Maleficent story is a Hollywood production, Sleeping Beauty is an English, Euro-English story, then it's comparable.
Okay.
Do you understand? Are you all following me?
But it could be retelling?
You can retell, but if it's within the same country,
all right,
it's not. It's not comparative literature, yeah. But the point I'm making with the Joker and the Maleficent is the element of revisioning.
Yes.
Okay.
With this,
Okay,
the Lizzie Bennet, yes, it's comparative literature. Why? Because this story is from an American point of view, set in an American context, written by an American cast, American list of script writers, and yeah. So the Americanness will be there. So you can find a similar adaptation from an Indian perspective or a Chinese perspective or a Muslim perspective. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Shaira, okay?
Yes.
All right, cool. Okay, who's next?
I will. If you
Yes.
don't mind.
Huda?
Yes.
Yours is?
Aisha at last.
How do you spell Aisha?
Aisha at last.
Is there a T? No, okay, all right. Tell us about the story.
Well, the story released about 2 years ago as a modern version for Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
And I see that there is many similarities and dissimilarities between them. As we see the theme of as the theme for Pride and Prejudice, it's society norms, the classes, something like that, the norms of that era. As for the theme for Aisha at last, is something related to society as well, but it is cross-cultural. They are families in Muslim community in suburb of Toronto of Canada. And she includes many in her book many winking references to Jane Austen. For example, we know this quotation of Jane Austen in her first chapter. She said, "It's a truth universally acknowledged, so and so." As for Aisha at last, in the first chapter, it's aimed with almost the same paragraph when she said, that single Muslim man must be in want of a wife, there is an even greater truth to his Indian mother. His own inclination are of secondary importance. This here we can see the difference in the difference of literature. Culture. Differences culture that mom is the dominated person in this situation, and we have this tidal relation between Darcy and Lizzie, as well as Aisha and Khalid. Aisha is we can see the reimagined Elizabeth, and as for Khalid, he is the reimagined of Mr. Darcy. He is of a very wealthy family, and he has, this obligation towards his family, toward his society, and he looks like a very fundy Muslim. When she saw him, Aisha saw him, she said that he is fundy, it means fundamentalist, and because he used to wear this long robe, white robe, and cape, a white prayer cape on his head, with long beard, something like that. Mr. Darcy has his obligation for his family as well, and we can see that both of them, Aisha and Lizzie, family for them comes first,
Right.
as if it is a testament of the power of family.
Right.
Elizabeth, she refuses a golden opportunity when she refused Darcy when he proposed for her because of her Jane, her sister Jane. Aisha, she tried to deny her dream to be a poet by being a substitute teacher in order to get money, and she repaid her wealthy, rich uncle, pay him his debts.
Right.
And we have this struggle of Aisha, because she is a Muslim in foreign free country. She struggled too much to, and she even wear a skirt, hijab. She wears hijab, but in modern way. Modern. And this is the thing that attracts Khalid for her from the first sight.
Right.
Then when he saw her reading a piece of poetry in a place, it's not bar, but they used to drink. He misjudged her as she attained bars, and there are so many things that that they are very similar, and they are a difference between them. There's something I want to say about Lizzie. Although she loves her family and she sacrificed for them, but at the same time she refuses Collins, and he could ensure the good life for her family as well. Aisha doesn't do something like that. She used not to marry and to refuse or to deny her wish to be a poet, just to sacrifice her wishes for her family. And there are so many things that I can't even I have to, so many things that I can elaborate.
Yeah. So
we don't have the time.
No. This is good start. So with all of you, the same with the same with Shahira. when she chose the Lizzie Bennet Diaries.
Yes.
Huda, your reading of the text, Pride and Prejudice, and comparing it with the choice that you have identified, which is Aisha at Last,
Yes.
is through the theory of adaptation or the theory of revisionism. You can choose, you all can choose either one. So you can read up more if you are interested to compare the two. When we think about adaptation, what are some of the key elements? What are some of the key features? I'm going to draw your attention straight to chapter 1. I remember saying this earlier, and I want to see whether this is now this is a test. Now I want to know whether you've been paying attention in terms of the spoken and the unspoken. Tell me something you see in this page about Aisha at Last, the adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, that you would not see or you did not see in Pride and Prejudice, the original version. This is a question for everybody, not just for Huda. Just have a look at the way the story starts. What's the distinct difference between this story or this adaptation compared to its original?
She said that it is Indian, mother.
Okay, that's a mark, clear distinction. But the narrating, how is it different?
The narrator gave voice to Khalid,
Good.
the male character.
Good. Only
First.
Khalid? Do you only get Khalid?
Mother.
No, if you read throughout the text, it does give Khalid and Aisha's perspective.
Good.
So you can hear both of them.
Good. That's an important aspect of adaptation. Adaptation or revisionism does exactly that. It does something the original did not do. It does a conscious decision to highlight something that the original did not do. That something could be the narrative voice, could be a particular issue, it could be a particular character, it could be like what Huda says, to add something new, a new dimension. In this case, the intercultural dimension. Yeah.
So is this the highlighting marginalized characters?
That's an important aspect as well. In Lizzie Bennet Diaries, the characters are Caucasian still, or do you have marginalized characters brought in? That will be
marginalized.
Yeah, so that's good. That's one of the things that adaptations does. So you may read a little bit more about the theory of adaptation. You can choose any lens. Bear in mind what I said with regards to what's his name's definition. Where is it? No, this one. Totosi's definition. Knowledge and application of other disciplines in and for the study of literature. So you may choose the theory of adaptation as your knowledge and application of your choice of theory, basically knowledge and application of other disciplines in and for the study of literature. Okay, so it could be the theory could be a theory of adaptation. It could be the theory of revisionism. Your choice, how you want to go about it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that in itself is another parameter. Theme is one parameter. Looking at adaptation and how stories are adapted from one context to another cultural context is another parameter. So we're covering two different parameters here. Do you all follow?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So the bit that Huda referred to, it's here somewhere. So. I saw it somewhere about the "It's truth universally known" bit.
Doctor, scroll up. Yeah,
The
last paragraph for chapter 1.
Last paragraph of
Yes,
chapter 1.
of the first.
As the thought of romantic.
Yeah, the last. Good. Thank you. Because while it is truth It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single Muslim man must be in want of a wife. The same, man, wife, not man and woman, but man and wife. So the man must be in want of a wife, not a partner, not an equal, but a man, and she is referred to as a wife. That's the bit that's similar. The Muslim bit is just the cultural element brought in, but the phrasing of it is exactly the same, right? This is the bit that is the adaptation. That's something that's being developed further. There is an even greater truth.
True.
To his Indian mother, his own inclinations are of secondary importance. That means what he thinks doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
What matters is what mom thinks.
Yes.
Which is what Ranjini's choice of text, as well as Jennifer's choice of text, Crazy Rich Asians seems to also hint at, which is the matriarch plays an important role in the decision making. So the difference between the 3 or 4 choices that you all have come up with so far helps you identify the parameter you want to choose. Is it theme? Okay. Is it theme, or is it looking at adaptation? Because if the story is a retelling of the original, then you have to go with the adaptation. Understand?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah. And when you do the adaptation track, if you're going to look at the text and you're going to focus on the element of adaptation, questions to ask yourself is, how is this text similar, and how is it different? If it is different, what aspects of difference do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on the narrative voice? You can do that, Huda. You can focus on this novel and compare it to Pride and Prejudice purely by looking at the narrative voice, how the narrator is different in this novel compared to the narrator in Pride and Prejudice. That's enough as a comparison. That means you don't have to go into the theme of marriage, the mother and the matriarch, all those. You don't need to. You can, but you can focus more on what adaptations does. What is the purpose of adaptation? The alteration of one thing to suit another. So you alter Pride and Prejudice to suit another context, another focus. What's the context? 21st century Muslim Canadian society, for instance. That's what the purpose of adaptation is. So you need to read up more on adaptation, what is being modified, what is being changed, why is it changed, why is it modified, and how does that support the new version better. So you can just focus on it on that perspective. All right. Okay. Finally, Ali?
Yes, Doctor.
Your choice?
My choice is Eat, Pray, Love.
Eat,
Pray, love.
eat, pray.
Yeah.
Eat, pray, love.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are you looking at the book or the movie?
The book.
The book, Elizabeth Gilbert's book.
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Good.
Yeah.
Is this the book? Yes. Okay, yes.
Gilbert searched for herself in the wake of her divorce. After a very difficult legal settlement, Gilbert decided to take a year of travel because she finally feels justified in doing something that she wants to do. She muses that she has chosen to visit 3 places that begins with I, which is a metaphor for what she hopes to find by the end of her journey.
Okay.
A sense of self or independence. After that, Gilbert mentions that she does not want to have children, even though she and her husband had agreed they would start trying to get pregnant after she turned 30. One day she stays up one night sobbing in the bathroom realizing not only that she doesn't want to be a mother, but also that she does not want to be married anymore. She uses this instance to explain her faith in God, even though she doesn't consider herself to add her to any particular dogmatic principles. I find that in chapter 2, when she says that on my knees on a fellow praying, I don't want to be married anymore. Glibert at chapter 2 explained that she was miserable and unhappy when she was kneeling on the bathroom floor of her large house near New York City. She was sobbing as she finally admitted to herself that she did not want to remain married, live in a big house, or have a baby. She don't want to be just like that matter. After that, also at the same chapter, I see that she said, "Why did I feel so overwhelmed with a duty, tried of being the primary breadwinner and the housekeeper?" Furthermore, Glibert felt overwhelmed with a duty, tired of being the primary breadwinner and the housekeeper and the social coordinator and the dog walker. So what she did was to start to pray to God. By her visit to many countries, Glibert described Utotlia, the Indonesia medicine man, a lookalike of the Star Wars character Yoda. The question Glibert asked him is to how to live in the world, and this is actually represent her character. And enjoy its light. She asked him how to live the world and to enjoy its delights, while also being devoted to God. Larry's response is to draw her a picture, which he interpreted thus: "You must keep your feet." This is exactly at chapter 8. He responds her to draw her a picture, which he interpreted thus: "You must keep your feet grounded. Stop looking at the world through your head. Look through your heart instead. Your heart instead." He reads her palm. He correctly assesses her as a world traveler, someone who worries and becomes nervous too much. He goes on to say that he is very lucky, earns money easily, but is about to lose most of it, and will be married twice and have one child, daughter, late in life.
So Ali, I don't want to stop you because you sound like you're really getting into the book, which is awesome. Now, how is it comparable to Pride and Prejudice?
I see that the comparative thing with the Pride and Prejudice in the character of Darcy. The character of Glibert represents her pride in different way. When she says that she always wants to be alone, she don't want to get married anymore. She want to just to get friends, to meet people, and just to meet them as a friend. She wants the others to be just like friends for herself. She don't want to be responsible for other things. She just wants to enjoy herself. She wants to find the world in her style and her way, to get things that she make her happy, to make things that she.
That's Elizabeth. That's Gilbert. Elizabeth Gilbert, right? That's the narrator of this story. But how is it connected to Pride and Prejudice? Where is the similarity between Elizabeth Gilbert, the narrator of Eat, Pray, and what?
The collective thing, the collective thing with Pride and Prejudice, that her character, the pride in her character, represent also the pride in Darcy character. I see that Darcy also at some chapters present the pride and vanity when someone tells him to dance together, or for example, some girls want to get married from him, how he was refused the others and don't want to dance anymore with the others. This is also represent the pride of this character with liberty. Yes.
My worry is the connection is not strong enough. My concern is, where am I looking at? The concern is, your choice of text, the comparison or the convergence between them is not strong enough. Can I insert this slide? Can I add? Can I draw? Yay! Okay, cool. So when you make a comparison, when you compare two texts, the element. Can you all see what I'm drawing?
Yes.
Okay, what am I drawing? What does it look like?
Two circles.
Okay, thank you. Just in case, then you're like, is she drawing somebody's face? Is this somebody's eyes? No. Yeah. Dumpling. Are you hungry, poor thing? Okay. So you've got Pride and Prejudice.
You're fasting.
You've got Pride and Prejudice. Then you've got Eat, Pray, and Love. Okay. Now the two texts must converge. Must have something similar that is beyond the element of pride in one character, the element of pride. Because if it's just the element of pride, insert. If it is just the element of pride, it would be very slight kind of comparison like this. It's very slight because one is a male character, another one is a female character. One is 19th century Britain, another one is 20th, right? Eat, Pray, and Love. Is it 20th century?
Yes,
when was it written?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I think so.
21st century. Okay.
Yes.
All right. 21st century America. This is England. Okay. This is America. One chooses not to marry because he hasn't found anybody of his equal stature or somebody who attracts him. Another one chooses to leave a marriage because she's miserable. So the element of similarity between them is slight. So it's not a good choice of text to take up on.
But it could be Elizabeth, I think. Yeah. It will be better to compare her. I think it will be better to compare her with Elizabeth. She is rebellious. She doesn't want to live ordinary life. I think this is better because I saw the film. I like it so much. And she prejudiced because she refuses the final the final love. Someone who gives her her love, but she doesn't his love. Sorry, but she refuses.
But you see, the thing is, my contention is when you focus on the character's love as a point of comparison here, this idea of the character being rebellious or the character having her own mind, yes. Having her own mind. But that is, in any story, you will have that. It doesn't have to be Pride and Prejudice to compare with this particular novel, right? So for Eat, Pray, Love to be compared to Pride and Prejudice, you need to find something that is more similar between them. This point is not good enough. It's in terms of similarity, it's very slight. It's like barely touching. You need something more pronounced in terms of similarity. How do you identify that? You identify it by identifying what is it about this novel that attracts your attention, the theme that attracts your attention, you know, based on the examples that I gave just now, by looking at excerpts, by looking at certain excerpts, you know, about certain issues, certain point, looking at certain excerpts and then saying to yourself, okay, you know what, based on this, this is what I think this novel is about, and then finding something similar in Eat, Pray, Love. Then you can compare. Do you follow?
Yes.
Yes, Doctor.
Ali,
Yes,
do you
doctor.
follow?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor.
Okay.
Yes, doctor.
Then, if for instance, you're like, you know what, I like Eat, Pray, and Love. I want to stick to Eat, Pray, and Love. Okay. I want to stick to it. Then I'm going to go and look for another text that's comparable to it. It doesn't have to be Pride and Prejudice. Except for your task, I ask you to choose something that is comparable with Pride and Prejudice. And this one is not. Ali, do you follow what I'm saying?
I see, doctor.
Yeah.
Yes, doctor, I
So
see.
you can compare Eat, Pray, and Love with another text of your choice. But right now, it feels like a struggle. You're trying to make it come together, but it's not coming together. Why? Because there isn't much that is similar between the two. The similarity of looking at rebellious character, someone who has her own mind. This is something available in many stories. It's not necessarily just these two. Are you all following me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, doctor, I follow.
Okay, so Ali, I would say I would like to hear another choice from you for next class. Okay?
Okay, doctor, I will try.
Just look for something else based on the examples
Yes,
you've got right now, based
Okay,
on
doctor.
what your friends have presented, like, you know, the story of Ming Lan, Crazy Rich Asian, the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, Aisha at Last. You can see the similarities in terms of these texts, right? In terms of these texts compared to Pride and Prejudice. Whereas Eat, Pray, and Love, it feels slightly off. This is more like a travelogue, a memoir, a travelogue. If Lizzie goes through traveling and that's the thing that happens, then it's okay. Are you all following me?
Yes, doctor, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap up the class here. And I'm going to ask you to, you know, go on UKM Folio and look at the task on UKM Folio and follow what's being asked of you there. This is your page on UKM Folio. This is our course. All right. So I've got some tasks there for you. E-task 1, e-task 2, and e-task 3 is where I ask you to identify another text from a different literary canon that is comparable to Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. So for those of you who've done this, you just need to upload something here, PowerPoint slide, a Word document, doesn't matter. Just a short write-up. Doesn't have to be very long. Just a short write-up, upload it for e-task 3, and you're done for e-task 3. You need to do e-task 1, e-task 2, and then, of course, your assignment.
How about the task 1? What is it? Is it the comparative literature, doctor? Because I send it to you.
Task 1 is just to identify the difference between national literature, world literature, and comparative literature. Your own understanding.
Yes,
you can
I
upload it. Yeah, you can upload it here.
E-task on my own. Sorry, my own sources, or depend on yours, doctor?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It can be PowerPoint, it can be a Word document, whatever you have, you can just upload that. E-task 2 is based on this book. I think everyone else has done it. Huda, I haven't seen yours. So that one is for e-task.
I thank you, doctor, because, sorry, I asked you, I couldn't find anything related to translation. So I asked you, can I use my own?
No,
there is
you
no
have
answer.
to
So I
check.
used 3. Yes, and
You
I
have to
couldn't find,
find
the book.
this book. You have to
Yes.
find a chapter in this book. The book is here on UKM Folio.
Dr. Sorry, I
Okay.
think I've submitted ITAS
Yes,
1
yes,
and
yes,
seminar.
Yes.
But when my submission status is no attempt.
In UKM Folio?
Yeah, in UKM Folio.
Okay, just try it again and then let me know because right now I'm not seeing anything from anyone.
I send it to your WhatsApp.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
There is who submitted. I will check.
Because I remember getting the when we submit something, we'll get an email, right? Because I remember getting email, but never mind. I'll just submit it again.
No, you have submitted. Shahira, it says here you have submitted on the 23rd of March.
Okay. But
Yeah, so this you have submitted. This is based on seminar 1. So Ranjini, Shahira, Jennifer, Ali, you all have done it. So you can just upload it and then you're done. This is for assignment 1.
Okay.
You just need to upload what you have done. That's it. But I'll talk more about it next week. But I want you to familiarize yourself with our UKM folio. You know, the course structure, everything is here. If you've got any questions, you can always message me and say, Dr. Rai, can I meet you for a bit? I don't know how to do this for UKM folio. You know, just let me know. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
I have to do another one.
Can. You can make an appointment with me. You let me know. I'm free tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. You know, whatever. It doesn't matter.
All right.
Okay. So I'm going to basically wrap up there. Please have a look at UKM Folio, and when you're done with something, just upload it, especially eTask 3, eTask 2, and eTask 1, and an assignment. Because if you do it slowly, you will notice that, you know, after a while, there's nothing much left. You just need 2 more eTasks and 2 assignment, and you're done. You're done for the course. That's how easy it is. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions? Any questions?
Just for comparative literature, I have to stick to the book, because I did it from foreign outside resources.
When you say to the book, you mean this book by Ali Baghdad's reference book. Is this what you mean?
Yes, because I couldn't get to the folio because of my computer was out of order.
I understand.
That's
so
why.
what
The
bit that you have done, Huda, the bit that you have done, you can keep it for your final project.
Yes.
You can keep that for final project. But this task, I am checking for your ability to conduct a review. This is the task. Right, all right, I'm coming. Okay, all right. So, any questions? Any questions?
Nothing.
So far, it's okay, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you.
So please let me know how it goes. If you've got any questions, you need to message me. You can.
Okay, Doctor. All right.
Thank you, Doctor.
So thank you so much for showing up for class. Any issues, you can get in touch.
Okay.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye-bye.
Just woke up.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Doctor.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Doctor.
Bye, Doctor.